Hi and welcome to the Grind Academy podcast. My name is Rob Patterson and I'm a former CEO from the hotel industry who turned the comfort of that life in to become an entrepreneur. Today I own several successful startups across various industries including retail, technology, property and lifestyle. If I can do all that coming from a tiny outback farming town in Australia, then anyone can do it. On my journey from becoming CEO of a large organisation to entrepreneurship, I became fascinated with what it takes to perform at your peak. Each week, I'm introducing some of the most inspiring and talented minds from sport, business, literature, and science to understand just what it takes. Thanks for joining the podcast. Now let's meet today's guest. In this episode, I'm meeting former Rugby League player and all-round good guy, Kev Penny. I actually knew Chris, Kev's younger brother, well before I met Kev. Chris joined the same company I was working for, and from the moment he joined, it was clear Chris was an exceptional character and someone with a bright future. It wasn't Chris's experience or knowledge that set him apart, but his attitude and work ethic. A work ethic that clearly appears to be a family trait. In an innocuous sliding door moment, Kev had his life turned around in just 2 short weeks, going from a teenage talented basketball protege to a signed professional rugby league player. Kev's career is highlighted with some moments of pure magic, and perhaps one of the greatest solo efforts to score a try ever recorded in the English game. However, like almost all professional athletes I've met, it's not the highlight moments that define Kev. It's the countless hours of off the field learning and refining his craft that led to a 10-year professional career, having never played a full season prior to signing the contract. Having lived in the north of England myself over the last 4 years, I admire the authenticity, openness and honesty of everyone I've met from the region, and Kev is no exception. Today's podcast is one of resilience, of persistence, of pure grind. And while Kev created moments of brilliance on the field, it's the years of hard work off the field that we take time to discuss, along with some fun stories of Kev's career, including the players he played alongside and the coaches he played under. So enough of me, let's get started with today's episode. So Kev Penny, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Cool. If we can kick off and ask about family life, because I'm wondering what's in the water in the Penny household, or what the secret is with producing so many super athletes.
Yeah, I think, well, obviously I've got 2 children. I've got a boy and a girl. Jaden's 12. He's, as you can imagine, he's mega into his sports. He's currently playing football at the moment. He's doing pretty well. He enjoys his football. I've got a little girl called Ava. She's 8, nearly 9. So yeah, I've just got the 2 kids.
Yep. And they're following in the footsteps of Dad.
Yeah, well, trying to. I think Jaden's he used to play rugby. He was pretty good at it, to be fair.
Yeah.
But pretty much as soon as I finished, he said he didn't want to play anymore. So obviously didn't put any pressure on him to carry on playing. I just want him to enjoy whatever he does, really, and the same for Ava. So say Jaden's playing football now, and he really loves it.
Well, he's got an uncle to look up to, right?
Oh, absolutely. There's 2, isn't there? Obviously, Chris and Alex, obviously playing their football and things. So they're good to have around, give him advice and things if he decides to listen. So, like I say, for me, it's all about enjoyment. As long as he enjoys it, I'm happy to take it to whatever he wants to do.
Well, live and let live, I say. Kev, just to clear up terminology, in Oz we say rugby league for the sport you played and rugby for the ruck and maul game. But for the sake of today, we'll call it rugby as you know it. But rugby, of course, wasn't your first sport. It was basketball, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I still don't really like rugby to this day, funny enough. I don't really watch it or follow it. I never really did. But yeah, I was massive into my basketball, and I still am. Obviously, mine and Chris's dad was obviously a good basketball player back in his day, and that was something that I always wanted to do up until probably the age of 16. Really, when everything just happened over a 2-week period, where sort of put basketball on the back burner and ended up somehow playing for Warrington. So yeah, basketball is probably my first and true love. Really, it's still a passion of mine. Love watching it, playing it when I can. Yeah,
Chris tells me you're a big LeBron fan.
Oh wow! I knew I didn't want to do it. I was going to come up. Chris keeps telling me I'm a LeBron hater, but I'm not. But I'm not a hater, but he's not the GOAT. He's not the GOAT.
Yeah. And who do you follow in the NBA then?
I've started to follow more players rather than teams. Kevin Durant's probably my favourite player. So I'm into Brooklyn at the minute. So we had a bit of a conversation off air about Kyrie and things, which is it's obviously good. But yeah, I like Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant's probably my favourite player, so follow the Nets.
Did you ever have a tilt at basketball, as in trying to go professional on that side?
Yeah, so when I was leaving school, I used to play. Obviously, growing up, I played 2-3 times a week growing up, and I was in the process of moving over to Manchester so that I could play National League 6 days a week. And then off the back of that, I was going to go to Priestley College in Warrington, where they were going to get a scout to come over from America and obviously assess me and things and take me back on a scholarship. So that was literally put in place, ready for me to go. 2 weeks later, ended up sort of knocking that on the head and ended up signing for Warrington, which is it's pretty bizarre, but no, it was I definitely did the right thing.
So how did that happen? That 2 week period where you were, I guess, scouted. Where did that happen?
So basically, a friend of mine who's just recently retired as well, Tyrone McCarthy, we used to get the bus to school together. And he was captain of the school team and he was desperate for players. I took rugby as one of my sports for my GCSE tests, but it was my worst scoring sport. And I wasn't bothered because I didn't like it. So I was just and they were trying to push me to play for school and to try and pick the score up and what have you. So I was having none of it. Anyway, I just said to Tyke, if you come home at dinner time with me to get my kit, I'll play, which meant a bus journey back across town to get my stuff. Obviously me thinking that he's going to say no. And he's turned around and said, yeah, all right then. So I was like, I'm in trouble here. So I did. So I went home, got my kit and played for school. And off the back of that game, ended up 2 Warrington scouts were at the game and they were like, listen, we want to sign you. And I was just looking, I was thinking, you can't be serious. I think I was must have been about 8.5 stone at the time. So there was nothing on me. I was actually playing in a semi-final basketball that night. So I was like, you can't be serious. Like, I've never played this game before. Like, how can you? And they were saying, well, obviously you've got some speed. So we think we can use something. We can use that. We know you do other sports as well. I think I just come off the back of playing county cricket. I was playing football as well, so I was pretty active, obviously growing up. So they were aware of the other sports that I was doing, and they kind of didn't put any pressure on me to sort of finish those to go and sign. It was just kind of come down, see what you think, and we could do something off the back of it. So obviously we went home, had a chat with my family. My mum laughed at me. My nan she wasn't happy. She was like, "You're not playing rugby league. It's too rough," and blah blah blah. And my auntie. She just said, "Listen, like you've nothing to lose. Just go do it. Go train with him. Do what you need to do. And if it doesn't work out, you've still got everything else to fall back on." So I started, yeah, fair enough. It's not a bad point. I'll go and do it. So I played a game for the under-16s. I think it was on the following Thursday, and we played against the under-18s. And I think I lasted about an hour of the game because I had shin splints at the time from obviously all the basketball I was playing. Yeah. So I lasted about 60 minutes. And I think after I scored a try, I got obviously brought off the field because I couldn't carry on. And straight away the coach was like, "Is your mum and dad here?" So at the time I thought I was in trouble because I never really been in trouble. So I was thinking, like, why? What have I done? And they're like, no, like we want to sign you. And I was like, what? Like, what's? And so that was a Thursday, and on the Sunday I was at the stadium signing the contract.
That's a manic couple of weeks that kind of changed your life, right? Like sliding doors moments.
Absolutely, it was crazy. I mean, we were talking about this not so long ago with my mum actually, and she was saying she remembers being sat in a box at Halliwell Jones Stadium with the first team coach, the reserve team coach, and they were both saying in 2 years he could be out there making his debut. And she laughed and she said, "I think you're crazy, but fate has a funny way of turning, and you seem to know what you're doing. So it's at the end of the day, it's up to Kev. If Kev wants to do it, then go for it." And yeah, funny enough, 2 years later, I made my debut.
Well, I want to ask you about your debut year, but before we go there, speed was a big part of your game. How fast did you actually run the 100?
I never really got timed over it, Funny enough, I'm more of a long distance runner. Yeah, I'm more of a long distance runner. I never really got timed over 100 meters, so I couldn't give you a time there, Rob. Sorry.
Well, the reason I ask is that early in your career, you were compared to Martin of Fire and Jason Robinson, players I grew up watching when I was first introduced to rugby. And I want to know what pressure that sort of expectation puts on you when you're still a teenager and just learning the game.
I think when I think back, I didn't feel the pressure at the time, but obviously looking back, they're huge. I mean, you're talking about two of the all-time greats of the game. It's truly humbling to be compared to people like that. But I never really sort of based my game on any of those or tried to be like any of Martin or Jason. I just wanted to do my own thing and try and figure out what else I was good at and try and utilize, my attributes, which took me a while to do, but I did get there in the end.
That you did. Well, 2007 was a big year for you, Kev. It was the year you hit the big time. It was when you made your debut, but it was more than that. It was a spectacular arrival into the game for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was crazy. Again, I think everything just happened like so quick.
Yeah.
I remember getting the call that I was going to play first team. We were playing Leeds away. Obviously, I think they were the current champions at the time, so obviously it's a big game. I couldn't wait. I was buzzing to get out there and play. And from being as young as I can remember, that's all I ever wanted to do was play professional sport. So the excitement was ridiculous. So I was looking forward to it. I enjoyed it. Like I said, that first year was pretty crazy. I mean, one thing that sticks out for me that year was every time we were playing, you could always hear the opposition saying, "Well, leave the winger in defence." That's music to my ears. So obviously, if you're not going to cover me, I've got open field in front of me. That's music to my ears. So it was great. It was great.
And was that like sledging? Was that a tactic to try and put you off, or were they?
No, it was a defensive philosophy. So they would try and stop the ball from getting to the wing. That's what it meant. So just to leave the winger is let's not let the ball get out there.
Yeah.
But obviously, because they didn't know me at that time. It didn't happen too often after that where they would say leave the winger. But no, it wasn't sledging. It was just the defensive philosophies.
Yeah, right. Yeah, to stop the ball from getting out there in the first place.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right. Well, you went on to make the Super League Dream Team, and you were named alongside Rob Burrows. There was some big names there. That yes, Trent Barrett was in that team. I think.
Yeah, he was.
How did it feel to see your name alongside some of these guys?
It was crazy. Like I say, everything was just a whirlwind. But to be named alongside some of the legends of the game, it was truly an honour. But it was a surreal moment to be in the dressing room with those guys. Obviously you get a certain kit made, special kit made for the occasion, and have your pictures and things. And but I guess when you get those accolades, you've got to live up to them, and that comes with extra pressure, really.
Well, that brings us on to 2008, following up a debut year where you've made the Super League Dream Team. Other teams are now looking closely at you and your game. People were starting to make those comparisons to Martin and Jason. How does a young lad deal with that pressure? And do you think it impacted your game?
Yeah, well, basically for me, I was just going into the year, obviously trying to improve, which is what you try and do all the time. But truth be told, I wasn't equipped to take myself to that next level. I just didn't have the ingredients, the foundations to go to that next level at that point. And I basically worked out, obviously, as my career went on, because I'd never played amateur rugby league. I'd literally just got thrown straight in.
Yeah,
I guess it's the same sort of principle in life, really. Whenever things go wrong, you always have to strip it right back down and go back to the beginning to build yourself back up. But what I was doing was my basics, so that was my foundation. So I didn't have the tools to take me to the next level. So it was obviously tough, and you've got to live up to them expectations every week. Every time I got the ball in my hands, you could you could feel the anticipation in a stadium. Everybody's waiting for you to do something with that ball every time, and it doesn't work like that. So obviously the longer it goes on, when you've not done something, the more pressure comes with that. So yeah, it was difficult, but the reason being is I wasn't equipped to take myself to that next level.
So what then how did you approach having to get yourself ready to be at that level and say, well, I need to find some more dimensions to the game? Did you change your training? Did you change the people you're working with? How did you adapt?
I didn't necessarily change my training. Again, every day was a learning day for me. I think at the time we had some really experienced players in our team. I think we just with Matt King had come over that year too in 2008. So he was somebody that I sort of latched onto to try and learn from. He'd been there, done it, State of Origin, Australia. He was one of the greats again. Really fortunate to play with him and still be friends with him and still speak to him and things. But just try and learn some things from him and try and add things into my game. And again, because of how raw I was at that time, maybe the things he was teaching me maybe were a little bit too advanced for that time. It's just, it was difficult. It was difficult to try and process and try and find what was right, what worked right for me, because obviously you're in the middle of a season now and you don't have much time to prepare for games. You just got to keep, and like I said, because I don't have them foundations, I keep doing the same thing over and over, which obviously at that level doesn't cut it. So
yeah. And does the pressure build? I guess as the season goes on, there's so much expectation, as you say, the crowds are anticipating, you're getting the ball, does that start to manifest itself and build inside you and, sort of, I guess, create a barrier for yourself?
Yeah, well, one of the issues that I had, Rob, was I would play a game, I would go home and watch the game on TV. Obviously, listening to pundits, I'd read newspapers, I'd read the news, and then you become trying to please everybody. Yeah, and it's impossible. You can't please everybody. So once I figured out that the only person I need to please is be happy with my own performance and myself, obviously, then you've got your coach has got to be happy with your teammates. And once I figured that bit out, that was a game changer for me.
Yeah. Well, before you got to 2008, actually, I want to ask you about something that happened in the first year, your first debut year, 2007, where Leolatu, the name probably sparks a thought in your mind already. There was quite a controversial case.
I think it was after 2007. That I think
it was. I
think that might have been 2008.
Was it? Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
And so you all of a sudden thrown into the spotlight again under a racism claim, which actually I think you'd gone and reported it, right? Yeah.
So I can't actually remember what happened much around that point, but yeah, in the game it just kind of it was just a normal tackle. There was nothing in it. I was just trying to get up to play the ball, and he's pushed me and come out of a racial slur, and I was like, obviously Leo was a big guy, and I was like, whoa. So I was trying to do the right thing, obviously report it and what have you, and it went on a little bit, and we had to go to the judiciary at Leeds and Redall and sit in front of each other and basically talk about the incident, what had gone on. But fair play, he held his hand up, he made a mistake. He explained that it wasn't meant to come across as a racial term, something that was just his language, and which obviously you have respect to other people's culture and things. Accepted his punishment, served his punishment, we shook hands and move on.
Man, that's incredibly big of you, because that could have been something that boiled over into a much larger and lasting issue. But your choice was to accept what you deemed a genuine apology, forgive, and move on.
Absolutely. Obviously, there's issues in the world at the moment with things like that. So obviously, you know yourself how it can get. And I'm not really that kind of person, to be fair. Like I say, he owned up to his mistake. We all make mistakes. He served his punishment. We played against each other not long after that, shook hands, and we move on.
So did that, I mean, if that's happened in 2008, so you've got this mounting pressure of trying to live up to 2007, which was just phenomenal. And then you're trying to develop your game, and there's that going on around you. That's a lot to take on your shoulders early in your career.
Yeah, absolutely. It's yeah, like again, I just go back to, I wasn't equipped for all these situations. I say even at the time you go get things like, now you start to get sponsorship. I think I had a car at the time. I was wearing, I think I had some Optimum like cycling shorts that I was getting paid to wear. I was getting things off Nike, Reebok, all these things as an 18-year-old kid that you don't get taught that in school. It just gets put onto you and you've got to deal with it. I say looking back, it was difficult to deal with. I probably didn't realize how difficult it was at the time, but as you know, my brother Chris, I've got a really good support network and a really good close family. So, I'm not one to sort of bottle things up, and I do talk about things if I struggle with them. So, my family and friends have always been there to support me. So I'm obviously really grateful for that.
Yeah. So talking about your training, then, you say you didn't really change it in 2008 to adapt or anything like that. But how tough is the rigors of rugby league in terms of training? What's a typical week look like?
It all depends on obviously your next game and what day the game is, because it's not just a game that's played on a Saturday or a Sunday. As you know, when TV gets involved, you can be Thursday, Friday, Saturday or Sunday, sometimes even a Monday. So if we're playing Sunday, you could have a game Friday. So that's a really short turnaround. So you'd have a couple of days recovery, but then you're straight back into it again. It's full on. It's a brutal training schedule. And if you're going all the way, you're playing in the finals and things, you're looking at 10, 11 months of the year, where you're just putting your body through it day in, day out. And not only your body though, your mind as well, because obviously when you're not playing all the time, and you miss out on teams, it can be tough to try and get back in. So it can be a mental grind as well as a physical. The training regimes are pretty brutal, to be fair. So again, something that I learned later on in my career, how important pre-season is. It's not just about being flogged on the field and long days, and it's there for a reason. So you've really got to approach that with the right mindset, and it does set you up for the rest of the year then.
Yeah, well, I guess that's that foundation you're talking about, right? To put in that foundation before the season gets there.
Absolutely. So your long days, and when your body's tired and you feel like you've not got much left in you, and that's what like towards the end of the season can feel like. So that's what them days are for, and you've really got to put your mind to it properly and attack that pre-season properly to get your foundation ready to set you up for the season, especially when you're playing at a club like Warrington. Now, Warrington's obviously one of the bigger clubs in the competition, and it's obviously the last few years we've been always, certainly when I was coming through, we started off as underachievers, and you get to be thereabouts. So the back end of the season, the business end of the season is where it all counts. So pre-season becomes even more important then.
So someone who's grown up with the sport, unlike you did, picking it up late, they're only having a handful of weeks off a year. On top of that, you're also trying to learn your own game. You must have had very little time off, if at all.
I think for the first 6 or 7 years of my career, I only had 4 days off. 4 days off at the end of the season. I was straight back in, because I'm not got a big frame. I'm not a big build, so obviously they were always trying to put weight on me constantly. So it was important that I did quite a bit of weight training, to be fair. Which obviously took me some time to obviously get used to. But I think for the first 6 years, I think I never had 4 days off in between seasons.
Well, physically that sounds exhausting, but it must have taken a lot of mental strength as well.
Absolutely. This is some long, dark days.
Yeah.
It's all worth it.
Well, you mentioned Matt King was one of the players that offered you a lot of advice and supported you. Did you have any other teammates who drove you to be a better player?
Yeah, I got the hardest time off probably John Clark and Chris Bridge. They would get on my case quite a bit at training, but they'd be quite brutal with it as well. Now, trying to get people to understand that is, unless you're in that environment, in that team environment, you don't really understand. Because at first it was a bit like, they're getting on my case here, and it's a bit of a dislike thing, but it's nothing like that. We're all fighting for the same thing. We all want the same. We're all going for the same goal. We all want to win. they're pushing me because they know I can do better than what I'm producing. So yeah, that was the way it was, and they were pretty good with me, to be fair. And I think Clark actually pulled me over one time and he said, "Listen, come on, you're better than this. You need to put it in. You need to work a bit harder, really. Let's go. We'll help you through it, and let's go, basically."
Yeah. So you still in touch with them these days, or is it a?
Yeah. I'm still in. I'm in a couple of WhatsApp groups. I think the most regular one, I still speak to Chris Hill, Steph Ratchford, Ashton Sims, and Kurt Gidley. So I think we speak pretty much every day. So like I said, we all left the team about 4 years ago. I say every day to this day we pretty much speak every day.
Yeah. It becomes a bit of a camaraderie, doesn't it, in a football team?
Absolutely, it's a brotherhood. It's a brotherhood. Yeah. I mean, the things that you put your body through, physically and mentally, when you're going to war with these boys every day, not just at a weekend when it's game day. Every single day, you're putting your body through it, but you do it together. When you say you create friends for life, you really do.
Yeah, and that the point you just made then is so true about sport, isn't it? Everyone sort of looks at the crowning moments, and that whether it's at an amazing try or a defensive tackle or whatever it is, but actually it's the hours and hours that you've put in off the field that go towards making that moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people talk to me today about obviously playing and training. We were finished by dinner time every day, so it's not like if we're working like we are today and we finish at dinner time, or we can go to the pub and have a few beers, or you can do anything you want, really. But when you're playing, when you're a professional athlete, you can't just go to the pub and have a few beers. You got to get ready to train tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? So we would spend a lot of time coffee club and going to Nando's, things like that. So you're with them more. I was probably with them more than I was with my family. So do create a brotherhood.
Yeah, they become family. So speaking on the same topic, if there were players who sort of pushed you or inspired you, were there any coaches through your career that gave you a headache or helped, inspired you to?
Probably the best coach I've had would have to be Gary Chambers. He's probably the only coach that's ever truly given me I felt like he's given me that his whole backing, and I know he's got the confidence in me. Which drove me more. Gaz was my academy coach. Gaz was the coach that came to sign me, and pretty much throughout my whole career, he was there for me. So, he's probably the most influential coach I had. I've had great coaches throughout my time, and they've all obviously got their own attributes and things. They've all contributed in some way. But if I had to pick one, it would be Gary Chambers.
Yeah, and do you think is it because he took more time to get to understand or know you personally that makes you say that?
Probably. Gary was a good man manager, and that's something that's very difficult to do. Very difficult to do. Not only did he have a good rugby brain, but he was a really good man manager too. I guess it's probably, you can say it's an easy thing to say because he's probably never done it at Super League level, which again is a whole new world, a whole lot more pressure. So, that's not a shot at any other coach that I've had in Super League, because the pressure that they're dealing with on a day-to-day basis, is huge. So, but yeah, Gary's probably the most influential for me.
Yeah, well, you think about all the the greatest coaches of all time, the Alex Fergusons, the Phil Jacksons, they all got to know their players really well personally, as well as just teaching them how to play the game.
I think that's a skill. I think that's a skill. I think it's either something that you're born with or you're not. I don't think you can. I don't think that can be taught, really.
Yeah. Okay, so you now out on loan into your third year. It's you're still at the still grinding to get back into the. You were still with the Wolves, right? But you're on loan.
Yeah. We so basically at the time, because I'd hit the ground running in 2007, I'd obviously signed a really good contract. But then on top of that, we've just signed a load of top class players. So basically, Tony Smith just took me to the office, and all credit to him, the way he handled it. He was just honest with me from the start. He just said, "Listen, I'm more than happy for you to stay and fight for your place. If I'm being honest, you're probably not going to get the game time that you want or that you need. So there's an option on the table here for you to go get some game time on loan. I think it'd be really good for you. What do you think? So I was like, yeah, cool. I'll do it. I just want to play. I just want to play, and I need to play at a senior level. So obviously playing a lot of reserve grade at the time, it's good, and it was good for my development. But for me to improve, I need to be playing against, I need to be playing against adults week in, week out. So the opportunity to go to Widnes, and I think I went there with Paul Cullen, who'd actually given me my debut at Warrington. He was then at Widnes, so to link up with Cull again, obviously after a few years of playing Super League, was obviously a great experience, and it ended up being a really successful loan spell for me.
And did that give you the opportunity to, I guess, start to read or build that foundation that you were looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I started to figure out how to use my speed properly. Didn't quite get it right at that time, but I started to figure out how other ways that I can use it. And I think when my loan, I got experience of. I think we won a Northern Rail Cup when I was with Widnes, so I obviously had a bit of experience of winning a trophy. When I finished that loan spell, I went back to Warrington, and I think it was the first year we was in the Challenge Cup final. Obviously I didn't play, but was there with the team and around the team at that time. You get to see how they prepare for those sort of big moments, and that became a big part of my development moving forward. Obviously we went to Emily. They won it that year. I remember that week in training. I don't think there was 5 balls dropped all week. I remember the day before the game, training was the best I've ever seen it. Not a ball went down. Everybody was on point, and it was like, wow, like this is what it takes to be a successful team.
Yeah. And that connection that you then develop, playing week in, week out, that must have also been a challenge for you as well, because if you're now on loan and coming back, is it harder to develop that connection that people are looking for, that you don't drop balls?
Yeah, obviously it becomes a standard. And that was something that Tony Smith brought in when he came to the club. You can't accept mediocrity if you want to be excellent. You've got to be on it all the time. Then one particular thing that stands out for is one training session we did at the old Wilderspool Stadium. He made us line up from so he got the bag of balls, and he went to the halfway line right in the corner. I think it was Michael Monaghan. So he just emptied the balls on the floor and said, right, Monaghan, how far can you pass right to left? Don't care if it's a metre, 5 metres, 10 metres, whatever. How far can you pass on the money? So the next guy obviously has to stand, let's just say 5 metres. The next guy, so on and so forth. When you get to the end, you start another line going in another diagonal way. And literally till there's no more players left, we're in a zigzag line. And he said, I want the ball passed from there to there. No drops, off you go. So we're all like, this is like under 9 stuff. Like, why are we doing this? Obviously, the ball gets passed along the line. And once he gets to the end, he says, how many balls do you drop there? And we were like, there must have been about 20 balls in the bag. And we were like, 4 or 5. He was like, 4 or 5. He said, just have a look around you at the moment. So we're all stood on the field looking around the stadium. And he went, who's here other than me and you? We were like, no one. So if you're dropping balls under no pressure when no one's watching you, what do you think you're going to do at weekend in front of a stadium full of people?
Yeah.
Against somebody that wants to take your head off, what do you think is going to happen then? And we were like, geez, he's got a point here. So like, I want the ball going there and back, no drops. And then the next time I think we got to line down to like 2 drops, and he's like, you're still dropping balls, 2 balls and there's no pressure. And it was like, wow. So like little basic drills like that, the concentration levels that you needed to do those under 9s drills was phenomenal. And it's the classic saying, obviously, in any sport, the team that wins always does the basics well. And it was right. It was right.
Well, Warrington's been a force in that championship for a long time, haven't they? They've been a dominant team.
Yeah, they do. They just have we're just lacking the whatever it is that's missing just to get over that final hurdle. Whatever it is, I don't know what it is, but we're just lacking something at that final hurdle, which means we've just not quite won the grand final.
Well, it could be the era that you've gone through as well with the Sinfield Burrows era, that when they took a lot out through that period.
I think looking back, it was there was some great players playing around at that time, and some some absolute iconic players. It was a tough era to play in.
Yeah. Well, you played around 70 odd games for Warrington. It was the majority, I guess, in your career. Do you consider that your home team?
Yeah, 100%. I had I think I had two loans. I had 2 loan spells at Widnes. I think I went on loan to Harlequins as well. I remember playing at Murrayfield at the Magic Weekend up in Scotland, and I think Warrington were playing after us. And the support I got from the Warrington fans was absolutely incredible. Hairs standing up on the back of my neck. I still remember it to this day. It was absolutely phenomenal. So, yeah, 100% class Warrington as my club.
Yeah, well, you came back and played whilst you had the loan period. You came back and played, and I recall this moment. Actually, I knew Chris at this time, and I was in Warrington, and you probably know what I'm going to ask you about now. That
yeah,
there was a period of about 4 minutes where you completely turned the game around.
Yeah, we were. I think we were playing Lee, weren't we, in the Challenge Cup? And I think Lee at the time, I think they were making a lot of noise in the Championship. Obviously trying to get promotion to Super League. We were obviously we're pushing at the top of Super League at the time, so it was obviously a big game. But I don't think we'd quite performed to the level that we should have done. I think we obviously got the bit of hairdryer treatment at half time.
I was going to ask what happened at half time, because it was all in the space of about 5 minutes of half time, wasn't it? Or 10 minutes?
Do you know what, Rob? I can't remember. I only remember one half-time speech, and that was from 2008 at Millennium Stadium from Jimmy Lowe's. That's the only one I can remember, but I can't quite remember what happened on this day. But yeah, we came out and we were all guns blazing. Like I said, I think I scored 2 in 4 or 5 minutes, but yeah, I think one sticks out more than the other.
Yeah, you're being very modest there. I mean, it might be the most acrobatic try that's ever been scored in the Challenge Cup.
Yeah, it's up there. It gets recycled about 3 or 4 times a year over here. So,
is that because you planted, or?
it gets retweeted a few times, yeah, and then I get a few of my old teammates. You stop putting it. I'm sick of seeing it now. I was like, just because you say that, I'm going to keep doing it. No, it was obviously a special moment. Yeah, it was one of those moments. Obviously, I'm proud of. Yeah.
How did you feel at the time? Did you feel like you play sport? A lot of sports people talk about being in a zone. I mean, that's 4 minutes where you completely change the game, and that second try, you you flew through the air, literally.
Yeah.
Did you feel like you were in a zone or something that day?
Well, funny enough, I wasn't actually supposed to play that game. Joe Monaghan got injured the day before, so I got drafted in literally less than 24 hours before kickoff. So, I wasn't a regular first team starter. So every day for me was a grind to try and get in, to try and nail my spot. So I don't think I'd done a lot at that point in the game. So yeah, I obviously had to do something to try and justify a spot to play the week after. But that sort of finishing that we practiced that a couple of weeks prior to that, sort of that style of, obviously not that acrobatic, not that dramatic either, but we practiced sort of the basics of what you would do in that situation. And I just remember catching the ball, and in that situation, I needed to catch it in front of me and put it in my right hand so that I could throw my body out the field but keep the ball in play. But I caught it on my left hip, so I just had to kind of improvise and just make best doings of it. And yeah, ended up producing that.
Did you think you'd scored it, or were you unsure?
I knew 100%. I knew 100% I had scored. Yeah, it was. I think I'd had a bit of shoulder injury at the time as well, so I felt that one. But yeah, I was 100% certain I scored.
Yeah, I bet you felt it. That was you were miles in the air. I mean, I remember watching the referee was even in disbelief. It was quite a moment. Kev, just give us a bit more context to the game, because it wasn't going well for Wolves up to half time.
We felt like we'd kind of dropped to Lee's standard. Super League and Championship, the difference is obviously the full-time training and the fitness is usually the difference. Teams, top Championship teams normally stick with you for 20 minutes, 30 minutes of a game. There's not a lot of real difference there, but obviously as you get tired, fitness kicks into it, then the skill level sort of kicks into it as well. And we were just way off what we were supposed to do. So we just spoke about, just let's make it simple. I don't think we put on any plays that we'd practiced that week. We don't think we'd done any of that in the first 40 minutes. So it was a case of get back out there and do what we practiced all week, but do it with intensity. And that's exactly what we did. So I think we did. We scored a couple of tries after that as well. So we ended up obviously winning the game and going to the next round.
Yeah. So you said in 2008 there was a speech that stood out, and you remember what was that?
So we were playing Huddersfield at the Millennium Stadium, and I think we were losing the game at half time, and we definitely shouldn't have been losing the game, and we were getting frustrated with ourselves, and Jimmy just came in, and I think we were bickering as well amongst ourselves, and it was a bit of bitching going on as well between ourselves, which is obviously standard in that environment. And Jimmy just came in. He was like, "Listen, relax, just stay composed, because this team is going to break. Keep doing what you're doing, but keep your composure with it, and I guarantee you'll run in 5-6 tries." And that's exactly what happened in the second half. And I don't think I'd really been around a team or a situation where it had been like that, where we were the better team, but we were behind. We didn't really look like scoring or causing problems, but for some reason, what we were doing was going to work. We just had to stick with it, and it did.
Yeah. So how much of that is just trusting the process? If you put in the work off the field, and that as a team, you've got a strong belief. At that point, I guess it is that just trust the process, right?
100%, it is. I think everybody sort of plays the same way. Everybody has the same sort of plays. It's how you sort of, how you put that into practice and how you execute those plays, rather than trying to break the defense down, let them make the mistake, keep putting the same plays on, make them make the right decisions. And that's, like I said, that's what we did, and we came out victorious in that game.
Well, now you've got 2 kids of your own. What advice do you give to them about life and their future?
Just to enjoy it, and it literally is that simple. I remember, obviously, me growing up as a kid, I enjoyed everything that I did. I always did it with a smile on my face. Walking away from Rugby League, I stopped enjoying it. I just stopped enjoying it. That it was that simple. I think that applies to everything that you do in life, really. As long as you're enjoying it, you'll give your best. You'll perform your best in whatever it is that you're doing. The second you stop enjoying it and it becomes a chore, you lose everything that that you're supposed to be doing. You lose sense of where you're going with it all, and it becomes difficult. And life's too short to be living like that. So, all I say to my son is, just enjoy it, and if you're enjoying it, you'll give your best. Yeah.
And do you did part of you think, could have given a go at basketball?
I would have loved to. I would have loved to have gone and played basketball, but there's definitely no regrets with the decision that I made. I made the right decision. If I was, like I said at the beginning of this chat, mate, I don't even miss playing rugby league. I don't miss any of it at all. But if I was 16 tomorrow, I would go and do it all over again, the exact same way. I wouldn't change a thing. The good times, the bad times, the whole thing. I wouldn't change a thing. I'll do it all over again. I would have loved to have gone and played basketball and try it out, but it wasn't to be. So it is what it is.
Yeah, well, we're all thankful for your mate taking the bus across town to get your kid.
It was definitely the right thing to do.
And how about life after rugby league? How was it to walk away from the game? You were tired and you'd lost the passion for it. How difficult was it to adjust into life after rugby league?
It wasn't too difficult. It wasn't too difficult. Like I said, I've got a good network of people around me that I can rely on, and if I'm doing something wrong or doing something stupid, they'll say, "Listen, come on, what are you doing here?" But no, it was just my mind was focused on the next chapter. So literally, whatever it was that I was doing, I just used the experiences I had playing rugby league, to sort of get me through those challenges. It's I'm going into something completely new. I think I started working in telecoms, so it's something completely new. I've never done it before, but my mindset was I never played rugby before, so I played it for 14 years. So I'll be able to do whatever I need to do, just apply myself in the right way, and just be open to listen and learn. And literally that's the way it's been. So yeah, life after rugby is great, mate. I love it. Get to spend more time with the kids, which I sacrificed a lot of time with them when I was playing. Obviously get to see them, as much as I can now. So that's all good. But, life after rugby is good, mate. I love it.
Yeah, good. That's a blessing in itself, isn't it, to spend more time with the family? Yeah,
absolutely, mate. Like I say, it became it was difficult, because I wasn't the first name on the team sheet every week. It used to blow my mind that some of the Aussies would come over, and in between training they're traveling Europe. And I'm like, how can you? I can't do that. I need to get ready to train tomorrow. Forget playing at weekend. I need to be able to train tomorrow. So, as soon as training was finished, it was about prepping for the next day and the next day. Unfortunately, family sacrifice for all that.
Yeah. All right. Well, you've got Chris, who obviously is doing well, and you've got your other brother Alex as well, is chasing his football dream.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris is obviously Chris had to finish football at a young age due to injury, which was obviously pretty difficult, and I sort of went through that with him. But no, same sort of thing. The mindset Chris has got. Chris, he's absolutely flying in his industry and what he's doing.
Yeah,
he's a great dad too. So. Obviously, we're really close, and Alex is doing well with his football too. He's sort of finding his feet again. He's been playing a bit of non-league at the moment at Kidderminster, but they're doing well in their league. Alex has been playing well, so just like I say, it's all good and it's got to keep going.
Well, I saw firsthand the qualities Chris brought to the office, and he continues to do very well. It sounds like you've got a great family support network. It sounds like you're continuing to win at life. So in wrapping up, what advice can you offer anyone listening today to attack life the way you have?
Just enjoy whatever you're doing. Just give everything that you've got. There's no tomorrow. Remember, there's no tomorrow in things. So give it everything now. Life's too short to wonder what if. So just give everything your best and do it with a smile on your face.
Brilliant. Kev, thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
No problem, Rob. Thanks for having me. Take care, buddy.
Well, I have to say, Kev was incredibly humble in his analysis of that try. If you haven't seen it, head over to my Instagram page, grind.equity, to catch a glimpse of it. I want to thank Kev for joining me on the podcast today. If you liked what you heard, please hit the subscribe button on my podcast or leave me a review. In the meantime, have a great week ahead, and thanks for listening.